the News Channel 5 network, this is Inside Politics.
Channel 5's political analyst Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. The United States, along with the whole world, is reeling to try to come to grips with the unprecedented dangers and challenges from the coronavirus pandemic. Nashville is facing even more difficulties to come to grips with everything after suffering also a devastating tornado on March 3rd that inflicted major damages in neighborhoods across the city and claimed 2 lives. Metro also faces challenges with its city finances still being very fragile, and critical decisions are set to be made beginning within the next month as the Metro begins perhaps its most critical and difficult budget process ever. As a group, no one is more plugged in our city than the 40 members of the Metro Council. 2 of the countywide elected members of that body are joining us this week on Inside Politics to discuss these challenges. They are Bob Mendes and Steve Lever. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Now, before we start our conversation, let me make a little bit of an explanation. You see the show's a bit different today. In order to comply with the recommended social distancing requirements that are recommended by health officials to hold down the spread of the coronavirus. That's why you see us all in separate boxes. We are all in studio, but with more than 6 feet apart to stay safe. Let me start with both of you. I know both of you and all the 40 members of the council get lots of calls, texts, phone calls all the time on lots of different topics. What's it like now? Is your phone ringing off the wall? Is your mailbox full? What's your mood of your constituents?
Well, Pat, it's a very unusual time. People are scared, concerned, not sure what's going to happen. I think we're already seeing there's significant job loss going on across the country, including Nashville. And so I think as much as anything, people want to know this week, how long is this going to go on? Are we going to be okay? And so I'm spending a lot of time telling people that we have to, we don't know exactly, and yeah, we are going to be okay, but we're going to have to work together through it.
Steve, are people feeling like they're not getting accurate information, or the information they get seems to change or sometimes even conflict with each other?
Well, I think all of us would feel that way, quite frankly, because it has changed drastically. You know, if we'd have said 1 month ago, this is where the country's going to be, this is where Nashville's going to be, we all would have looked at you with a bit of astonishment, saying, what makes you think such things? So, you know, yeah, I think there's a lot of information trying to flow. I'm not certain that people feel comfortable yet. I've got to agree with Councilman Mendes that you know, they're scared. And so I think it's our job as the elected officials to try to remain calm and try to deliver the message and try to help all of our constituents work through these issues, because it's unprecedented.
Are they getting their information and believing information they're getting from the government officials and the health officials, or are they believing the information they're reading and seeing on social media?
Well, people a lot of times have a hard time believing government at any level. And so I think there's a healthy dose of skepticism of information from all sources. Most people I talk to are trying to consult multiple news sources, government sources, trying to just piece it all together for themselves.
Steve, do they believe the coronavirus is a hoax, as President Trump said for a number of weeks before the last couple of days? Do they think it's a hoax? Do they think it's real? Are they following the CDC guidelines about social distancing?
I think the majority of Nashville is following that. As you've said here on this show, I mean, this is a prime example. We see it across the country right now where we're doing the social distancing. We haven't stopped life, but yet we're following the rules because, you know, I think now that we have enough data and enough information and there's been some decisions made, we understand we have to flatten the curve. Let's get through this for the next couple of weeks or whatever it's going to be, and collectively we have to work as a team.
Bob, are people asking you where to find toilet paper among all things? And does anybody have a good explanation for why toilet paper of all things is the thing that's being hoarded and taken off the grocery shelves?
Thankfully, I'm not getting that question, and I don't have any idea.
Steve, are the folks satisfied with what they're seeing on the government efforts on the state, local, and federal level? Are they all doing about the same good job, or is somebody lagging behind, or nobody doing a good job at all?
No, I think everybody's trying their best to do a good job. Again, it's uncharted waters that we're in. We've never seen any situation quite like this. A convergence of a tornado, then the virus, the economy that was already fragile in Nashville, and so therefore that's one of the reasons I know that I post pretty frequently to try and keep people informed of what I think is happening. I know Councilman Mendes does the same thing. And so, we just try, I can only speak for myself, but for me, I just try to put out the facts as I learn them. Are the small businesses frustrated right now? Yeah. I mean, as a small business owner, we're all scared to death trying to figure out how do we survive this thing.
Bob, Tennessee's had some practice with doing things for crises. Are you finding the same willingness to volunteer and step up, even if volunteering and stepping up in this case means staying home and really not doing anything, just not going outside and not even spending money?
Absolutely. This is a spring break week. My wife and my 16-year-old went out and volunteered at a community resource center. It was a safe social distancing. We've got the tornado cleanup, and people are amazingly still getting out and stepping up to help with that, even with this coronavirus going on.
Nashville has been leading the state in the number of coronavirus cases coming up, and by a large margin. In fact, they were about half the number, about half the cases across the state were in one place. The mayor's also declared a state of emergency. Is there any connection to that? Is there any reason to believe that's anything other than a bureaucratic thing to help free up a quicker response? Anything that we might be becoming a hotspot?
I think our mayor has acted very responsibly. I think that he's doing everything he can to protect the citizens of Nashville. I certainly don't see us becoming the hotspot. I do see us being a very heavily populated county, and I also see that we have almost 50% of the people who work in Davidson County that travel from outside of the county. So, I mean, a part of it to me makes sense mathematically of why we would have a kind of a surge in Davidson County, perhaps versus other counties around the state.
Let's talk a little bit about the tornado recovery. Any of those folks, Bob, when they talk to you now, still need help? Or they feel like they're maybe getting a little lost in the shuffle because of all the stuff going on with the virus?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. I think people feel like there's minimal help, but I think there's definitely folks in need who have been lost in the shuffle or are at risk of getting lost in the shuffle. FEMA's in town, TEMA's in town. The mayor's office has a good website up, so the resources are there. But there's no question that the coronavirus has slowed down the response.
We're talking to Metro Councilman Steve Glover and Bob Mendes. We're talking about, of course, the coronavirus pandemic that's going on, along with Metro recovering as well from the tornado, and Metro's fragile budget situation. Back to continue our conversation with our two guests after this break.